Hey, everyone, welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast, the Sunday night / Monday morning version. We are sponsored by WynnBET. We appreciate them for that. That's WYNN Bet. I am Scott Jenstad, joined as always on Sunday nights by Jeff Erickson. We are live on YouTube, Facebook Live, Periscope, all that kind of stuff. We're also taping, so if you listen to us on audio, we'll be there too. We appreciate that. If you could please rate or review the podcast, that does help us a lot. Also, Jeff, it's another Sunday night in baseball. I feel like the season's we're kind of snowballing towards the end here. It's weird. We got a couple months left, but it feels like we got a trade deadline coming up. We got some teams that are maybe going from holders to sellers. Maybe the Mariners going from holders to buyers. I feel like we're in the home stretch here.
Yeah, really. And it's you tweeted about the A's horrific series, our A's horrific series against the Mariners. The thing about the Mariners is I kind of was talking them up about them being a dark horse in the AL West at the beginning of the year. But it's because I was thinking okay, Jared Kelenich's going to be a guy that's going to really kind of key this turnaround. They're going to go with a bunch of other young guys too. Now, Logan Gilbert has actually lived up to it. He's been very good lately. Yep. Mitch Haniger, I mean, everyone was talking about him as someone they're going to talk about a guy that should be traded away. I don't think so. I don't think he's going to be on the market anymore.
It's weird. He started out so hot, then he kind of hit this swoon. It was all right, well, maybe we're back. It's not really good. And he just got red hot again. He's been really good. Killed the A's all weekend. Yeah.
I mean, how could you not want to make a run if you're the Mariners you've had? It's the thing is, even if they don't have a really realistic chance of catching the Astros, which they probably don't, they are trying to build a winning culture. They're 8 games over 500 right now. That's better than the Yankees. It's better than the Blue Jays.
They're a game and a half out of the wild card. I mean, I know we all say it's a one-game playoff, but on the flip side, it's a one-game playoff, so anybody can win it. I know that anybody can lose it, but on the flip side, that anybody can win it too. And I don't know, if I'm a Mariners fan, I like the fact that they want to go for it. I mean, you and I have talked 2022 is a huge question mark in Major League Baseball. I think that if I have a chance to go for it, I'm going to go for it right now. On the flip side, if I'm rebuilding, I'm really rebuilding right now. I'm rebuilding for mid 2022, maybe start of 2023, with the thought that I think maybe you kind of take a risk on that and see what happens next year. But it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a fun deadline. I think there's a lot of teams, the Nationals got swept by the Orioles this weekend. All of a sudden, they're probably sellers. There's some rumors out there that, Max Scherzer might be on the move. I think it's going to be, I always say I think it's going to be an interesting trade deadline, but I actually think this one's going to be, and I hope it is, because I like trade deadlines that have a lot of moves.
Same. Let's face it. If you write in the fantasy baseball world, you want chaos. You want things to write about. And if you want players to add and build on, you want that too. And you definitely want to see new opportunities arise. The other thing too is, with every setback that Steven Strasburg has, that, he's that's just one less guy that can help the Nats right now. It's so funny. I was talking earlier about Strasburg being a trade candidate, and then, oh no, they're good again. Oops, maybe not. I look at them now and they're a long way away from contending now. They're in the right division. They're helped by the fact that the Mets are just 8 games over 500 leading that division, but they're 8 games below 500 right now. Yeah. It's a long way home.
It is, I think. And Strasburg had, like you mentioned, another setback with the neck. I think it was yesterday. And just every other time he kind of throws, he starts to feel it. Even if he ramps it back up, we're looking at maybe 3 or 4 starts on the stretch. I know that Vlad Sedler was talking about on Twitter. I think I agree with him. I think in a 12-teamer, I think I'm cutting bait right now in Strasburg. I don't think he's going to be. I don't think we're going to get enough innings down the stretch to be worthy of holding him right now in a 7-man NFBC type bench, a 12-teamer. I just don't think I can do it anymore.
I agree. If I had Strasburg anywhere, I'd cut him. But I'm looking at the and it's funny. I'm looking at schedules. You mentioned the Mariners, so I was kind of curious to see who they're playing. They got a huge series coming up against the Astros this week. Yep. That's big for our A's too, because that can dictate things. They're also chasing the Rays for a wild card spot. They get a head-to-head with them in Tampa at the beginning of August. That's pretty big. I'm trying to look this, and then they have a 2-gamer against the A's later in August. They've got some pretty significant head-to-heads coming up here, and any one of those. And then, of course, in September, there's a big 4-game series in Oakland, and they finished the series in with the A's too. Yep. So,
and if you're
lots of opportunities.
If you're trailing, you want as many head-to-heads as you can get. I mean, you gain full games pretty quickly when you can play head-to-heads. And I mean, they lost that first game against the A's, and then they won 3 straight. I think they're 23-8 in one-run games now, which is pretty wild. Their run differential is like minus 50 or something like that, and they're over 500. It's they've been a fun team, and if Kelnick can get going, if Logan Gilbert keeps pitching well, they're a fun young team, and it's they're playing hard. I mean, there was at the end of the game, J.P. Crawford caught a pop up, and you could he actually yelled and pumped his fist. You could tell that they really wanted the last 3 games of that series, because that was part of their season. If they lose 3 out of 4 to the A's, and they're whatever that is, 3.5, 4.5 out, suddenly maybe they're not buying the deadline, but 1.5 out's a big difference than 4.5.
Massive, just a massive difference. And I keep going back to this. I mean, it's learning how to win and playing under the pressure of a playoff race. This is a huge opportunity. If you're building for the future, they've got enough young guys on that team that this is all, it's Crawford, it's even Haniger for that matter has never been in a playoff race. Never a real one there. And so this is big for them. You contrast that with the NL, and it's pretty much cut and dried. There's going to be 3 NL West teams making the playoffs.
Every game the Giants win, it's more and more likely there's going to be 3 teams out of the West. I think the Giants are going to tank thing is pretty much gone. They're just, I hate to say it, but they're just a really good team right now, and there's just no way around that. I mean, I know Kevin Gossman struggled this week, but I'd give him a pass this week after all he was dealing with at home and kind of missing and kind of off his routine. But they just keep coming. I mean, I don't know what Farhan's doing there. He's fine. I think they have 8 guys with double-digit home runs already, which is a pretty wild stat considering it's the Giants. You don't really think of power hitters, but they just got a lot of guys who hit.
Yeah, I thought they might be the team that goes and gets Adam Frazier. Instead, it was the Padres, and I know we're going to cover that later. But, the Giants, they have some clear pathways to trying to improve. I mean, I was arguing on Twitter that they should be the team going after Josh Donaldson. They can afford the contract, whatever about the contract. People, I had a little bit of debate about whether, because I think Evan Longoria's contract was brought up. And I'm like, you know what? That contract is sunk. That cost is sunk. I guess it's not going away.
How much you buy into how good Longoria was the first couple of months too. And I don't know if they think that was he had turned it around, or if he's 2020 and 2019 Evan Longoria, and then I think you do something for sure. But I don't know. I mean, there's no reason. Who knows when Brandon Belt's coming back? One of those guys. Right. Longoria can play first when he comes back. I mean, I think that we've learned from the Dodgers and the Padres, depth is really important, and we're seeing it right now with the Dodgers. They've gone through their depth. I mean, their lineup right now is brutal, and with Betts and Bellinger's out this weekend. Betts went on the IL, but I mean, they're starting Billy McKinney, they're starting Matt Beattie and Luke Raley. I mean, it's wild to see the Dodgers starting guys like that. They called up Josiah Gray. We'll talk about him in a bit. What do you think of the Padres adding Frazier? I mean, it's a little bit of a weird fit in terms of fantasy wise, because Cronenworth plays second base, but I think that I was talking with Rob Silver, and he's like, yeah, you look at it. I mean, Profar has 300 plate appearances, and Kim has 200. So it's not like there aren't at bats there that they could fill in with good guys. I don't think Cronenworth's going to be a problem. I mean, he hits 3 every game. I don't think they're going to suddenly go from him hitting third to him not playing every day. I think you probably see Will Myers lose some at bats. I think you see Eric Hosmer lose some at bats at first base too.
Yeah, I think we're past the point of worrying about Jay Cronenworth. I think it hurts Frazier for sure. And the thing is, so what? He fits in. He's a mix and match guy. As we've seen, depth. Teams find ways to get the depth guys going. Yeah, Ha-Seong Kim has made some great defensive plays, but he hasn't hit. He's come around a little bit more recently. Jurickson Profar has hit a little bit better recently. That's a possibility, but I'm not really that worried about that so much with Cronenworth. Maybe he gets one day off here and there.
Yeah, and he was kind of doing that anyway. I just think that there's no way you're going a guy from hitting third to suddenly, we have Adam Frazier, we're going to sit Cronenworth. I mean, I just don't think it's going to happen. I think that there's a possibility Will Myers gets traded. I think Hosmer, we're going to lose him at bats. So I think Cronenworth's going to move over to first. Hosmer has not been good. It's just I know he plays good defense, but offensively he's not been helping them.
No, he's back to being a ground ball wizard again. And so you look at Hosmer this year, 265, 328, 380 slugging. I mean, that's
the number right there.
Yeah, that's not helping it. Although Adam Frazier doesn't strike me as a panacea for that.
No, but he's hitting his OBP's got to be 370s, 380s maybe.
Yeah, it's 392 OBP, 453 slug. But he's hitting 327, so that's a big part of that OBP too.
For sure. And I think that's what you're going to get. And it's amazing. I think they'll mix and match, but FAAB sits every once in a while, Myers sits every once in a while. I think they'll figure it out, and someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to go on the aisle at some point. It'll fix itself. And we've seen, we hem and hawed in March about the Dodgers rotation. Oh, how do we play these guys? They're going to, they're going to be in the bullpen, and all those guys have had a chance. Anybody that's been healthy has been able to get a chance there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Abel in Vegas asked about the Dodgers and what they might do, specifically about Max Scherzer. And would they be willing to trade away Keibert Ruiz? If it's Max Scherzer, sure. Yeah. I would think they would be willing to do so. Clearly there's a need. I think I read something today that says the Dodgers don't want Trevor Bauer back under any circumstance. Not surprising. At least the players are that way. Front office might feel differently, but a good vast number of the players never were really behind him to begin with there. So less said about that, the better probably. But point is, I don't think he's coming back. I don't think Kershaw's coming back anytime soon. I know he's doing some throwing now, but they want to take their time with him, and they need help. The other thing is they might instead try to buffer that bullpen. We saw Kenley's wild ride this week, a little unlucky in some of that.
Yeah. He looked really good last night too, throwing hard.
Yeah.
Everything he threw was in the right spot. I think that the wildness has been the concern. I think the concern is that he's trying to ramp up that velocity he lost last year, and in doing so, he's lost a little of his command, which used to be elite. But I watched his ninth inning last night. He looked really good, and maybe they just have to figure out a way to use him. And the back-to-back maybe doesn't work. I don't know what they do, but there's times where he looks so good, and there's times he looks totally fried. It's really been a strange season watching Kenley.
Completely. The ball that Trevor Story hit though last night. Yeah, I think in another time of day, maybe another ballpark, that might be trouble. But you could tell by the look on his face, and he's been robbed of a lot of homers this year. I saw expected homers. He's really getting hurt this year. Something to keep in mind when you're trying to think about placing a value on him for next season is that he was a lot unlucky, as unlucky as anybody in baseball has been in terms of home runs.
That's funny because I was looking at the first round earlier today, and it's amazing how many guys in the first round are just doing nothing. And some of that's injury. Acuna's an injury, Trout's an injury. Mookie Betts is on the aisle now, but had not been typical Mookie Betts. Soto was quiet in the first half, has heated up. Tatis is on the DL, but he's been awesome since. But you just look at it. Shane Bieber's been hurt all year. Giolito's not been what we want. Trevor Bauer was a first round pick, and we know how that's gone. Trevor Story has, I think, 11 home runs. He's hit 240 in Coors Field, which is truly amazing. And then when you don't even hit on Christian Yelich, who's been playing all year except for the one IL stint, but he's hitting 240 with, I think he has 6 home runs and 7 stolen bases. He's been awful.
Yeah, absolutely.
That back half of the first round, it was I guess if you got Jose Ramirez or Darvish, you've been all right. Freddie Freeman was early second round.
Darvish wasn't good today. He's another guy that has been, since the crackdown on grip enhancement, he's been caught in the wash a little bit too. And I don't know if it's a direct thing or if it's just, it's coincidental, but fact is I don't feel as great about his starts lately. He also had an IL trip with the hip issue too. So
the funny thing with Darvish is he went from he had that stretch where he just couldn't find the strike zone. All of a sudden, halfway through that 2019, he found his command fully, and who knows, what was going on there. But the back half of that first round has been just full of landmines. It's been tough, and then Story's been healthy. I think he went on the aisle once, but Story and Yelich have been healthy for a chunk of the year. I don't think Yelich is fully healthy anyway, but
I don't think so either.
Those guys are producing 5th, 6th outfielders, or, your middle is not even that good. It's wild that guys and those are guys that they're in the first round. We're going to be safe. It's going to be fine. And they've been terrible.
Yeah, they have. So what is our bet on Yelich? I know his batting average and K percentage. I know.
I have to think that you are just destroying me in both.
Yeah, too bad I didn't bet over under on home runs, because that really would have been just done. But
I kind of thought the batting average number was really low too. I think we've been at 270 or something like that, and I was going to take that easily. He's hitting 240. I think the K percentage was 26%. He's at 27.3, so you're winning that one too.
That's close. Yeah.
I thought both of those bets were easy wins 3 months ago. I thought those numbers he was going to clear those easily, and he's just been bad. I think he's banged up, but he was bad last year too, Jeff. He hit 205 last year.
We're going to have to dig up the archives on that there, because I thought I actually got a better number on the K percentage. But
either way, you're winning it, but you may have a better number.
Yeah. But my whole thing was he had really long stretch of 20%, 20%, 20% K rate, 30 last year.
Yep.
That just, that indicates to me something was really, really wrong. Players just don't do that. And
he's much closer to that number than he is his normal career norms. And that's, I thought he would, I thought it was a short season weird thing and be back. He's hitting the ball hard. He's a 48% hard hit guy, but striking out a ton. 7 steals and 6 home runs. I mean, 6 home runs. You can look at Shohei Ohtani's got 35. You look at all these guys that have, 15 to 25 in there. I mean, right. 6 in the first round pretty much makes it that you're hurting an offense if that's your first round pick.
Yeah, that's the thing. At least you get the trade-off with other guys. I mean, you're just not getting that.
And at least Story has 17 stolen bases, which has kind of lifted his value a little bit, but still hitting 240 at that spot. I mean, it just kills you.
Pick 75, Yelich is still available. Over under pick 75 on Yelich next year.
Main event drafts next year. I will take the under on 75.
No, but you personally.
Oh, man, there's some deep scars, Jeff. Some deep scars. I think
it'd have to go later. I don't think I could go that early.
Yeah, I think that's probably about the spot where I would be like, maybe he owes me or something stupid like that. But it depends like what we hear in the offseason too. If he's like, oh, my back was just never right. But if that's the case, like, I don't know if I want to touch that anyway. If it's like an excuse for why he wasn't good, but if it's a back that's lingering. Yeah, I'm probably just going to go elsewhere. I'm pretty scarred by the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, I really am. I know there was.
On that note, him or Bellinger first.
Oh God, it's a big pool, and I'll be taking neither probably, but probably Bellinger. But then he kind of hurt his hammy again or something.
Yeah, he tweeted he's supposed to be playing on Tuesday. But I mean, he just came off an 0 for 23. He's hitting $162. This is a guy that won the MVP in 2019, came into spring in 2020, changed his swing, and has hit 200 since.
Yeah, he was out of the lineup. Could return Tuesday, but it just, I just don't understand why he changed his swing before last season.
It was, 305 and 47 home runs wasn't good enough. I don't know what that is, and then it's still a smallish sample. We're looking at 98 games to do that, but he's hitting 200 since then. 200.
It had to have hurt to swing that way. That's all I can think.
Yeah, the shoulder maybe.
It's the Verlander thing, but the hitter version of that.
It's weird. I think I probably that's a really tough one. I think I probably go Yelich barely, but I'm scared of both of them right now.
Yeah,
and they were the 2 MVP guys in 2019 that were back and forth having the huge seasons too.
Right. Right now I'm not taking either at that price. We got 2 months left of baseball. We'll see what happens, and the Dodgers probably playoffs too, and he'll probably go nuts in the playoffs, and we'll all get fooled again.
Right. So let's jump in. Look at week 18 coming up here real quick before we talk about some FAAB. Trade deadline coming up. We talked about that. There's 2 teams with 8 games, 6 plus a doubleheader. That's Atlanta and the Mets. There's 11 teams with 7 games. We have a pretty big schedule this week. We do have 5 teams with 5 games, though. The Diamondbacks, I guess what are they? The Cleveland, or we're the Guardians now? Are we still just going Cleveland baseball team for a bit? I don't know where we're going.
We've just been saying Cleveland all year on the pod anyhow, right? So
Cleveland.
Stay with Cleveland.
I'm sure I've messed that up a bunch of times.
Oh, yeah.
Marlins, Cardinals, and Rangers. We do have 4 AL teams going to NL Parks. I think the biggest one is probably the Astros going with the Giants over the weekend with Yordan Alvarez. Although Yordan's played about 11 or 12 games, I think, now in the outfield. So you got to think he's probably going to play 2 of those 3. So I would think he's in your lineup anyway. We have the Twins at the Cardinals. There's no more Nelson Cruz in Minnesota, so that's not that big a deal. Friday, Sunday, maybe Miguel Sano. The Yankees are in Miami over the weekend, so that might affect some Giancarlo Stanton. He has not played very much outfield. They don't seem like they want to put him out there, even when they don't have any outfielders to put out there. We got Ryan Lemaire and Greg Allen out there because they don't want to put Stanton out there. And the A's play at the Padres. It's going to be a tough series, Jeff, Tuesday and Wednesday. Coming off these 3 games, I'm not super fired up about going to face the Padres right now.
Getting a day off is probably great. Yeah. By the way, the Padres, they've lost the last 2, if I recall correctly. And Saturday, I don't know if you saw some of the highlights. They got royally hosed on ball strikes. And we're pretty grouchy about that. I think a couple of coaches got ejected, but I saw some of the Twitter, I think the Padres broadcast called the umpire the Marlins player of the game and all that.
Did you hear see the one where I forget who it was struck out, and I think it was whoever their color guys he goes, that's just horrible. That is just terrible. As they went into commercial, I was cracking up.
Yeah, and it was truly horrible. Did it seem
like this is a bad ball strike umpire week, especially bad? It seems like there was a ton of them this week that were really pissing people off.
I see it every week.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, every single week there, and I'm super guilty of it. I maybe not guilty is the right word. I take pleasure in like screenshotting some of the bad ones that screw the Reds. So
we had that Kenley one with Darren Ruff where it was 2-0 and the pitch wasn't even close, called for a strike, and then he clearly swung on 3-2 and they didn't call the check swing. It was just like compounding itself on how bad it was.
Yeah, you don't make makeup calls like that. I mean, and have you ever noticed too? And have you ever seen like home plate umpires don't want to like call something, end the game strikeouts a lot of times.
For sure. Yeah.
And the marginal pitches. Now, some are the other way around and just they got their dinner reservation, but others like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And then the Dodgers screwed that up too by not charging the softly hit ground ball so he could get the force out at second in time. I mean, he was playing so deep on that play.
The Dodgers butchered a lot of late inning stuff all week long. It was
it
was quite a crazy week out here, but. So let's jump into FAAB. That's what we're here to talk about. Let's talk about some FAAB. But first, a note from our sponsors. So, Jeff, after today's games, I think the big guy in FAAB turned out to be Touki Toussaint. Had a gem today against the Phillies. 7 innings, 1 earned run, 10 strikeouts. Earlier this week, had a really good game against the Padres. 6 2/3, 1 earned run, 5 Ks. Reminded me of the 2019, back when we used to be able to go to Vegas and do our drafts. You and I both took Touki Toussaint in that draft. We both really were fired up about it too. He came off he was really good in the minors in 2018. I think in AA and AAA was really good. He had some walk issues, but like the strikeouts were good. He looked really good coming up, and it didn't work out. He's the former 16th overall pick. How do you feel about Touki this time around off the 2 really good starts this week?
I was very good about getting a second place bid on all my leagues on him. It seems like, if I recall correctly, didn't he get sent down before the start of the season after all of that? Like maybe a day after we drafted on the main on that Saturday.
I think he did. I think he came. I think we held him and he came back up like 3 weeks later and just got shelled.
Yeah, and so I don't know. That was a scarred, not owes me situation. But although I was in on the bidding, I didn't go all in.
I watched some of both those starts. He looked really good. Like the stuff was there. He was striking guys out. He looked really good. And this is a guy that was a pretty high level prospect a couple years ago. And I think it'd be interesting. I mean, it's a team that even without Acuna should be in the mix, score some runs. And I liked it too. I was a little bit short on the bidding. I kind of where I went high, he went higher. Where I kind of went medium, he went medium. Also, just it didn't fit the right leagues. It was just one of those things that didn't work out. But certainly interesting. I mean, it's who knows how many pitchers we're going to get that we feel pretty good about, and he feels like he's won right now.
Yeah, I to be honest, I was more in on Josiah Gray than I was on Touki.
All right.
So I was 1 for 2 in the main and getting him at least.
Right. So obviously Gray has as good strikeout stuff. He had 13 strikeouts this week, only 8 innings. How much of the innings were you? Do you think we're going to get 5-6 innings out of Josiah Gray? I think we're going to see 4 innings. He threw 79 pitches today in his 4 innings. Do you think he's going to go deep enough to really work in fantasy?
I think it's going to be 5-6. I think it's going to be dicey at times. There'll be some 4-inning ones like today, and unfortunately, home start against the Rockies, you expect them to go a little deeper.
Right.
But this goes back, there is a risk with the Dodgers that I think is less present with the Braves, and that is the Dodgers. We talked about this already. The Dodgers could trade for Mad Max. Yeah. And who's the odd man out? It might be Gray. It might be no play for Mr. Gray. And I know I was forced, and I'm not ashamed. I'm proud of that one actually. But it's okay.
I mean, conceivably they have Price, Gonsolin, and Gray for like 3 guys for 2 spots, and they could piggyback them, whatever it be. But yeah, you're right. It could be Gray piggyback with one of those guys pretty easily.
Or it could be Gray sent back down, and that's the danger. But I would love to see him be the follower to Gonsolin. Yeah. That would be ideal. Gonsolin pitched better on Saturday, by the way.
And he threw 5 innings, which is good to see too. It actually get a decision.
And Price pitched very well on Friday. Just ran out of a little gas at the end, but he deserved that win. And non-Kenley reliever blew it for him. So there was that.
Yeah, and you're right though. You mentioned Kershaw. Threw a bullpen session Saturday, throwing a sim game on Tuesday. So he's going to be back at some point also. It's someone else probably get hurt. Gonsolin probably get hurt the way they go. But it just you're right. The Jose Gray thing, I think he looks really good. I love the stuff, and I like what I see in the minor league numbers. But I'm just a little bit worried about A, innings, and B, what his role is maybe the last 6 weeks of the season. When guys get healthy or they trade for somebody like either Max or Barrios. Or I think they're going to trade for somebody. They got to bring in a big arm for the playoffs, I would think.
Right. I will say the counter argument is there's just look at that waiver wire every week. There's just
bad. Yeah, you get a live arm like that. I think you got to bid on. I was in on the bidding too, but maybe they should for Mike Fiers. I think that'd be a good deal for them.
Spoken as our A's fandom.
Well, they hate the Astros. The Astros hate him. Maybe perfect fit, and he'll come in and give up like 6 runs in 5 and work really well. It'd be nice.
Yeah. Well, and then they can call. You can't even turn to Jesus for help there with the A's. That's the sad part.
Oof, yeah, he finally pitched a little bit better. Yes, last start, but that's been a shocker. I thought that the Luzardo thing was going to be not enough innings, not going deep enough into games to really work fantasy wise. I thought he'd be really good when he pitched, and he's just been bad the whole time. Whether they bullpen or starting, it's just been. I'm surprised that it's been bad. I thought it would be frustrating fantasy wise. I didn't think it'd be bad. It has been.
Yeah, I have an AL only home league where I needed pitching really badly, and someone gave up on Luzardo early. I was like, okay, this move to the bullpen's temporary. I'm going to put a pretty big bid on Luzardo, and no, that didn't work out very well. So, and I don't see him having much of a role the rest of the way, absent like 2 or 3 injuries, and them just saying, okay, we need you now. Just we'll take our chances, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I actually think that I think AJ Puck maybe has more chance to kind of help out in the bullpen at some point here rather than Luzardo at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. That's another guy that just has been a big.
He's got 11 strikeouts and 3 walks over his last 10 to third innings over the last 6 appearances. They're kind of working him in like 2 inning spurts. And I think that could be, I tend to think these 3 losses for the A's are going to be really important because I don't think they're going to make a trade now. Whereas maybe if they win 2 of those 3, maybe they would have been a little more aggressive. Now they're 5.5, whatever, 6 behind the Astros. I think like AJ Puck coming up might be the answer for like the bullpen issues. And I'm afraid they're going to get even cheaper based on this bad series.
I think the Reds are in the same boat. They had the horrible series against Milwaukee coming out of the All-Star break.
Yep.
And then they won 2 out of 3, and they lost 2 out of 3 against the Mets. So that was that. They won the first 2 against St. Louis, and then Sonny Gray got pounded today.
He got smoked today. 8 earned runs. Oof.
And he's only a couple starts removed from the IL, and I don't know if he's 100%. They're still 6.5 behind Milwaukee. They're 5.5 behind in the wild card. This has all the trappings of a stand pat team to me. It just would follow their very nature too. I mean, they had the big Bauer trade a couple of years ago, but I just don't see them making the big swing.
And you mentioned earlier at the National League, I mean, pretty much the East and the Central, you got to go for your division because they're just so far behind those other 3 teams.
Yeah, and it's just embarrassing how many times they've blown leads in games too. Yeah. Monday night was just another one of those where I think they lost 15-11 in that one, and constantly, the bullpen was just getting destroyed. And the thing is, I'm not mad at the relievers themselves because they're doing the best they can. Plus, but you just look at who they're asking to do the job.
Yep.
They're asking, guys that were not good enough to make the Royals. Brad Brock. Keith Hembry's been very good.
Yes.
CNL Perez is, the guy they got in like a cheapy deal with the Astros. It's always that guys they got in cheapy deals. They didn't go after anyone, and they've had 4 months to fix this problem, and they haven't seen fit to do it at all. I mean, you look at some of the guys that we're able to get, and it's really frustrating. And then meanwhile, Milwaukee, they made the trade of the year. They went and got Willie Adames, and that has been awesome, magical for them.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the Reds feel pretty stand pat to me too. 6.5 is a big enough chunk back where you're probably not mortgaging the future to make a run. It's hard to really blame them for that. It's just that's too big a deficit, I think, to really go for it. I think.
Yeah, Milwaukee feels that way too because they did the Freddie Peralta 4-inning outing the other day. They got a shortage of games this week, so they're going to do another half start with one of their starters.
Sounds like they're kind of thinking about doing that a bunch the rest of the way too. They're talking about, we have 6 starters, we need to limit some innings, and they're one of those teams that said in the offseason we're going to go 100 innings more than they threw last year. So they kind of had a number in mind,
like 150, right?
I think they were going to go 100 more than they threw the year prior. So it varied by guy, but that was their ballpark. But like Peralta's probably getting there already. So I love Peralta, and I looked at the start. I'm like, oh, they're winning. No runs. I looked, he got taken out after 4, and I was like, oh, here we go. It's going to be, and they're not going to be the only team that way, too. We're going to see a lot of stuff the last 6 weeks of teams limiting innings. It's going to be, I think wins are going to be even more difficult than they were the first half and the second half.
If they stick to 100 more than last year, Freddie Peralta's got 27 innings left.
There you go. I thought he was kind of almost there, and there's no way they can stick to that. But they're not gonna go 150 over. So I don't know what they do. I mean, I think he probably gets skipped a couple times. If they clinch, they probably skip him. I think they're gonna massage as best they can. But it's hard to go out. You don't want to go off the gas too early either.
Yeah, that's right. Corbin Burns threw 59 2/3 last year, so 60. He's at 102 already. So he's got a little bit more buffer there. Woodruff's got a little bit more buffer, but he's less than 50 left too. I mean, your buddy Brett Anderson it can ride him all they want because they don't care about protecting his innings, but it's a problem.
My boy. It is a problem. I don't know. The Peralta usage is going to be really interesting because he's been great. And it was funny because right before the All-Star break, I think he pushed him. He went like 105 or 106. And I was like, oh, here we go. And then I think they're going to realize I'm going to have to pull back a little bit because like you said, 20, 30 innings more is not going to work. So maybe they go 50 more. And even that is, what's that? 9 starts. That's, it's going to be tight.
Yeah. And he's a huge part of the playoffs for them,
and then
too.
Playoff innings are really important. Yeah. I mean, he's one of their 3 guys that's going to start playoff games.
Yeah. But the problem is you shut it down too soon. Is he going to be at his sharpest when the playoffs begin? I mean, it's a Jenga puzzle. It's really tough.
I can't fathom they go full Strasburg and don't let these guys pitch in the playoffs either. I mean, I just don't.
Right, I agree.
I think we've seen that didn't go very well, but it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be something that fantasy-wise you're going to have to watch because I think we're going to get a lot of times where we're going to get guys yanked a little bit early. That's going to be frustrating. So
look for the Brewers to trade for one more pitcher. I think
that's probably a really good way to look at it. They're going to have to just get another arm in there to eat some innings.
Yep.
Mike Fiers would be a good answer for that. Speaking of young pitchers who did not go well the first time, Daniel Lynch came up, got smoked, and I think it was 3 starts, 8 shutout innings today. Against Detroit, only 4 strikeouts, but 0 walks. I think was the key. He had a lot of walk issues when he first came up. It's funny. I looked at his AAA. I'm like, I wonder if he's been dealing in AAA. He's got a 5.8 ERA in AAA, but apparently he was pitching better. I read some quotes that he was really kind of coming around the last few starts. He had a 24% K rate and only a 7% walk rate in AAA. In 2019 in A-ball, he's a low 3s guy with a decent strikeout rate, low walk rate. Were you in on this? I mean, it's a big prospect. A lot of guys struggle the first time up. We saw with Logan Gilbert, he looked just as bad, and then he's been really good. Were you back in on Lynch at all today?
Logan Gilbert did not look just as bad as Lynch
that's a
did.
fair point. He looked pretty bad, but not just as bad. You're right.
And to that point farther, so his last 2 starts in AAA were pretty good. July 8th, 8 runs and 2 1/3. July 2nd, 7 runs and 5 1/3. So it's very recent bias that suggests that. And even the most recent minor league start was 3 runs and 5 1/3. He just didn't walk anybody. He had 6 Ks. There's a lot of upside here, clearly. Yeah. But first of all, don't sleep on Detroit. They're not that bad of a team. I don't think you're saying that, by the way. I'm not trying to accuse you of that. I wouldn't want to sully your good name. Right. But that's actually a better outing than you might think. That they haven't been really a team that's a great streaming option. Only 7 below 500 right now. But
the real problem with Lynch is he goes at Toronto, at the White Sox the next.
Yeah, Shu and I saw that, and we really tempered our bids because of that.
I had him as like the 6th conditional in one, and I got him with the thought that I'm not going to use him this week. I'm just going to see what we get this week, but there's no way I'm throwing him at Toronto.
No.
Yeah, there's no
Heavens,
chance.
No.
Yeah. And then, at the White Sox, that's going to be Eloy's back tomorrow, so that's going to be another righty in that lineup. Luis Robert won't be back quite yet then, but suddenly that White Sox, you stick a really good hitter right in the middle of it. That's I don't think it's a spot you want to throw him either.
No. Absolutely not. And, that's 10 days in, 8 days into him being back. So it's definitely, and that's the thing is then you ruin a possible is that a possible 2-stepper if I recall correctly or not?
No. It would be the week after probably. Yeah.
Well, that's ideal then. So you're getting him but yeah, that's a long time to pick up a guy and not use.
You do. Yeah. I agree. He was the bottom of my list. I'm not throwing this week. I'll watch that start. If it doesn't look good, I'll drop him back. If he looks great, maybe I'll hold him for a week and not throw him, but we'll see. So what were you picking up? We talked about Josiah Gray. We talked about Tukey. Any Tyler Anderson this week? 2 starts, Milwaukee and Philly. My concern here is he might get traded before that second start. I think he probably will. I think it's just one of those things. They got to move him. He's an innings eating type guy though. He's been pretty good. He's at a 4.3 ERA, which is not great, but in real baseball terms, like he can go out there, eat some innings, pitch pretty well, give you a quality start. Last 5 starts hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs. Swing strike rate's up to 11.6%. This is a guy that if you need some innings and he's going to trade and be like your 4th guy, I think he works.
Pray that he doesn't get traded to Atlanta. If you recall that start, but although he won't have to face the Braves, but
that's true.
I think there's almost there's less than a 50% chance he makes that second start.
I would agree.
I didn't see him available in my 15s. He might have been available in some 12s. No, I ended up with the opposite of Anderson in terms of like strikeout potential. We got good old Dallas Keuchel in a league because he's got 2 starts at KC and home against Cleveland this week. I'm not getting the strikeouts, but I'm chasing wins. Fully admit it.
And those are pretty good starts too. I'm fine with both of those. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
was he available in your main or is that 12?
That was a main. Yeah, and 12. I think I got him in one of each. I got him in one of our mains. Shu and I did 37 to 32. I missed somehow that Domingo Germán was available. I would have probably gone a little bit more aggressively on him.
I didn't have any stats in this week until today when he just went crazy, and then that bullpen just killed him.
Yeah,
that was rough.
That is rough. It's funny though. Joe Sheehan had a pretty good tweet about that. It's like, you think it's bad this year? This year's pretty bad. Some of you need to be a Mariners fan for the last 30 years to realize, get some perspective.
Yeah.
But although the Mariners have a better record right now,
the Mariners haven't been to the playoffs since the year they set the record for most wins.
Yeah, and then that ended up being
seems impossible. Like, they were so good.
Yeah,
and it's not they haven't won the World Series. Then they literally have not made a playoff appearance since then.
They haven't made a playoff appearance. They had some Ichiro years, some King Felix years. I mean, King Felix is such a tragic figure if you think about it. By the time the Mariners had one year where they're quasi competitive, like 4 years ago, but by that point in time, he wasn't there. In fact, he was kind of an anchor on them a little bit, and he wasn't the staff anchor the way you wanted to be. He was the one weighing him down.
Yeah, it's too bad, but you're right. I mean, but the problem is you get teams like that are good, the Yankees, and you just expect it. And it's frustrating when they're not good. I do understand that. As a 49ers fan who had a lot of good years, when they start to lose, it does become a little frustrating, but you do realize how spoiled you were. Any interest in Spencer Watkins at all in Baltimore? Pitched really well last start, 6 innings at Tampa, 7 strikeouts, 4 hits, 2 walks. Was not very good in AAA in 2019 at an 8 ERA, so really not very good. 76 innings. Was pretty good at AAA so far this year with like a 3.6 ERA. I didn't see a lot here that I liked. I kind of just feel like the reckoning's coming, but it was a good. He's home against Miami and at Detroit, so it's a workable 2-step this week.
I pish-poshed him last week when she brought him up. This week I said, let's put him on there. He was for hire, but we did not get him.
I got that one.
Thank you.
I like it. It's just Baltimore pitchers. They work once they leave, but they just don't work while they're there.
Unless your name is John Means, and even then, I mean, he hasn't been the same since coming back. So I don't know. We'll see about it. But Miami, Detroit, especially Miami right now is, today notwithstanding, that's a start you want.
Yeah. Did you do anything closer-wise this week? There wasn't really much out there. There was a little bit of Joakim Soria in 12ers, some Greg Holland who had 2 saves this week, and they gave up two runs his last outing. Did you guys do anything like specking for some closers? Were you thinking trade deadline? Someone like Bednar in Pittsburgh or anything like that? How active are you guys with closers? It felt like a bit of there's so many weeks we talk about saves and closers. It felt like one of those weeks there was not much out there. Yeah,
we've had and dropped Greg Holland, and I'm not going to go back to that one. I'm not going to boot and rally on that.
Yeah, you don't want to chase the 2 saves. You have Soria, right? Who has like 100 saves this month.
We do have Soria in both mains.
I think there was a stat.
We also have Kenley though, so there's the trade-off right there.
He had 6 saves in the month. I thought that there was a point where he was tied for the lead in saves in July. I don't know. He's probably not anymore, but there was a spot there he was.
Yeah, he's been fine. He had the one hideous outing against the Cubs, and otherwise he's been really good.
Mark Melancon has 30 saves, Jeff. That's just insane. 30.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Just, I don't think about that at all. Having taken Pagan in the 12th, and waited to take a closer until the 11th. And Jake McGee, who's in fairness has been fine for what we'd expected.
Jake McGee's been really good for the price.
Yes, he has.
He had that like 3 or 4 weeks where he was like kind of out of the job and Rogers was in and now he's back. And it seems like it's mostly him and they split a little bit, but mostly him. I think he has 20 saves, right?
Something like that. I mean, so many of them were early, though.
That'll still play, though. If you told me he had 20 saves on July 25th, I would have taken him at the price every single time.
Oh, absolutely.
And the numbers are good, and he's got strikeouts, and the ERA, and the ratios are good. He's been definitely very workable.
Yeah, he has.
Is he been better than Alex Colome is my question. Good Lord. Terrible. Let's talk about some hitters. We touched on Brandon Marsha a little bit last week. He got called up right before the deadline, but obviously he was NFBC wise the first time he's available. Were you guys aggressive here? So far, he's had 28 plate appearances. He's at 231, no home runs, 1 stolen base. We talked last week how he was a He was a stolen base guy in the minors. He had 18 stolen bases in 2019 in Double-A. Only was 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases in 2020. Were you guys in on him? How worried are you about his playing time with Upton back and Trout kind of close?
Yeah, we'll talk about Trout in a second about that. But we got him in 1 or 2 leagues. He was our top hitting bid, although it wasn't like we were going like we did for Duran last week. Won him 37-28 in one of mine.
That's a good price.
Lost him 28-23 in the other where we had less FAAB to begin with.
I lost him 29-28 in mine, so it was if he's good, that'll be a tough one.
Man, you just run bad sometimes.
Yeah, it's funny. Clark Olson, who's like leading the world in everything this year, is a really good player always, but having a great year. He's leading my main. He won Tukey 39-38 and Marsh 29-28. Just what you need for the guy leading the league to win 2 guys by a buck that he wants. So that was
good to be Clark.
Good bidding though. You got to give him props for that.
Yeah. He might take over some FAAB Whisperer titles. I don't know. Sorry if that's heresy, Vlad, but that's pretty darn good.
Otherwise, offensive-wise, as we talked about Marsh last week, with any other outfielders, I looked at Tyrone Taylor a little bit. He's playing in Milwaukee. 9 home runs, 5 stolen bases. Decent hard hit rate, almost a 10% barrel. He was 14-5 and 14 home runs, 5 stolen bases in 92 games in AAA. I kind of like him a little bit. Greg Allen has 4 stolen bases in the last 8 games, but I think with Aaron Judge coming back this week, maybe that playing time goes away. Was anybody else main-wise in the outfield that you liked?
Not really. I mean, there was guys we had bids on. Pavin Smith was available, and
he's available in one of mine too.
Thing is, I expect the Arizona to trade off some hitters. I don't know who's trading for David Peralta. Unfortunately, our guy has not really been that good this year. And defense is kind of sketched with him too. So that's the other thing I'm worried about a little bit there. But I do think Pavin Smith's a guy that should play a lot down the stretch. So if you're looking for playing time, he might be that guy.
What'd you do in 12 teamers? There's a lot of leagues where Lamont Wade Jr. was available. Hit 2 home runs today for the Giants. He's leading off a bunch of games, hitting 264, 12 home runs, 3 steals across 171 plate appearances. He's got 25 runs, 27 RBIs. Has been very good. Another one of these far hand finds that's working well. Solid K rate, solid walk rate. In 2019, though, he had 7 home runs and 450 plate appearances. So this is definitely this power is pretty newfound. Were you in on Wade in your 12 teamers? I think he was only 15% available going into this week. No,
I wasn't. I think he was pretty much gone. At least I think he was, but I'll have to go audit that again a little bit closer. The Giants are kind of the hitters what the Rays are to pitchers. It feels like sometimes where they just find guys
And they platoon guys kind of like the Rays do too. But it seems like Wade, he's leading off against all righties. And if you're going to get an offense like this that scores a bunch of runs, leading off against righties is pretty solid.
Yeah. Speaking of the Rays, did you throw up in your mouth a little bit when the Rays got Nelly Cruz?
It was a disgusting, awful feeling. I hope he did. He already has 2 home runs there, but the A's would have been a really good fit. They need another power hitter. They need a DH. Mitch Moreland is kind of just doing nothing. He would have been such a great fit and just would have been fun for me. Going to the Rays, a team that are, conceivably competing against for the wild card. It's just, it hurt.
Yeah. And a small market team that supposedly, and they did trade away giveaway / Rich Hill.
Yep.
Which was really an odd trade to see right after going after that. You think, okay, they don't have to save that much salary there, but apparently they did because who gives away starting pitching depth when you're contending?
Right. But man, you stick Nelly in the middle of that lineup, though. I mean, they're going to have some interesting playing time stuff going. Arozarena has been sitting a couple times, and it's but you have to imagine that as long as they're in AL Park, Cruz is going to be hitting third and DHing every single day. It's I don't know. You stick him in the middle of that lineup becomes a lot more deadly really quickly.
Yeah, and I forget who first pointed it out, and I apologize for that, but they have fewer interleague road games left than the Twins did, so he benefits.
There you go.
He benefits from that. I really want to give attribution. I apologize. I forget who said that on Twitter, but I think it's it's a big deal. That's fewer. I mean, it's big for them too that they don't lose as many games, but it's especially big for us.
Yeah, for sure. And everybody knows I love Nelly. I'd like to see him in the playoffs and do well in advance. So I'm happy for him. It's a good landing spot.
Yeah, it is.
Let's see. Anybody else? I seem like offense is kind of weak this week. I picked up Alejandro Kirk in one league because he got called up with Danny Jansen going in the IL. I didn't think Kirk's the guy that just hits for average, and he kind of has hit for average across the minors. If you're looking for catcher, I've rotated through so many catchers, and I sadly I shouldn't have done it, but I looked at my year-to-date stats in one of my main events. I looked at all my catchers and like every single one has been terrible. So add him there. He hasn't done a lot yet, but I think that getting some playing time is probably going to split opportunities with Reese McGuire. Good hard hit rate, always hit for batting average in the minors. Can't DH is the problem. That lineup's so loaded, he's not going to. But I figure half the time maybe a batting average to help a little bit. Definitely won't hurt.
Yeah, I agree with that. I put bids on him, and I put bids on Dalton Varsho in places too. I finally caved on that.
That one's I dropped him 2 weeks ago, so can tell how I feel about that.
Yeah,
he was doing nothing for like the fifth time through. Like it'd been we've seen nothing so many times. He stole a base. It's funny, he stole a base on that Sunday, and I'm like, I'm really going to keep a guy who went 0 for 3 just because he stole a base, and he's homered every game since, I think.
Yeah, I got outbid in a couple of 12s. I got him in one where I got Eric Haas instead. There's that.
Eric Haas has 15 bombs. That's I know that'll work a catcher too. And I got hitting fourth a bunch too.
And Yogurt, I had the saddest pickup ever. Luis Patino, I picked up and dropped Ronald Acuna.
That's that. I was gonna say I kind of like the Patino app, but then I realized who you dropped him for, and that is.
I also got Gray in that league, and I also picked up Francisco Mejia because Ariel Cohen outbid me 8-7 on Kirk, so I got my backup choice instead. But okay.
I never found closers in that league, so I'm just kind of so buried in my offense. I had Ed Springer, Eloy, and someone else. And Buxton were 3 of my top 7 picks. So that's it's worked really well for at bats, let me tell you.
Yeah.
So let's jump. It is a little bit of news and notes, but first a note from our sponsor, WinBet. If there's one thing we appreciate at RotoWire, it's making good decisions, and even more so, making the right decision. Listen up, folks. I have an incredible offer for you from RotoWire's newest partner, WinBet. That's WYNN Bet, the premier digital casino and sportsbook app. WinBet is now the exclusive sponsor for RotoWire's fantasy podcast. WinBet brings you all the latest action with a user-friendly interface, moneyline bets, boosted parlays, over-unders, round robins, live betting, and so much more, all at your fingertips. Want a break from sports betting? Head into WinBet's digital casino. Take a spin on roulette, double down in blackjack, slam the slots, or try your hand at baccarat. WinBet is currently available in 6 states: Colorado, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Tennessee, and Virginia, while rapidly expanding. At WinBet, the possibilities are limitless. WinBet is currently offering all RotoWire listeners a risk-free bet up to $500 on your first wager. Download WinBet now. That's WYNNBET. WinBet, the exclusive partner for RotoWire's fantasy podcast. We do thank WinBet for that. Jeff, a lot of big names. I'm going to fire through a bunch of stuff here quickly, but a lot of big names that are either like missing time or ended up on the IL this week. Mookie Betts, the Dodgers handled this weirdly. Like he missed the whole week and they finally put him on the IL today. I don't know exactly what they're doing, and they can only backdate, I think, 3 days. So he's definitely out for the Giants series this coming week for sure.
Yeah, and I think that they realized he wasn't going to be able to do much this week. But remember the talk was, he's probably going to come back Monday, maybe Tuesday. Yep. And this is like the 4th time now he's had a Monday thing. We talked about it last week, how it's going to be a problem.
Yep.
And sure enough, it was. This is, and so they were playing a man short all week.
Yep. Because
they kept on carrying him, and granted, there's not too many men to call up anymore. So even it's hard because they have pitchers and hitters just littering their IL right now.
Yep, it's rough. I mean, he's just kind of been okay. I mean, he's got 14 home runs, 7 steals, so better than Christian Yelich and hitting 270. But he certainly has not been Mookie Betts so far this year.
No, he hasn't. Where are you taking him next year? How late does he have to drop before you take him?
I still think I'm looking at his stats here. I think probably the 1-2 turn. I think I'm still taking him.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable, and you might get him.
Yeah, I think I actually might get him. That might be. I'd probably be a target for me if he gets that far. We'll have to see how. Yeah. There's so many things that could go weird in the first round. I mean, we talked about it last week, but like Jacob deGrom, like how his next 2 months go, like determines whether he's like the first overall pick or in the second round or something like that. It's crazy. Like what there's a huge range of outcomes that could be for deGrom depending on how these final 2 months go.
100%. And we don't even know if we're going to do anything. What he's going to do this upcoming week. You don't know how he threw today yet. I mean,
and they're like, he threw off a mound, but they didn't say how hard or how many pitches. I'm like, great.
Right. Right.
That doesn't tell us a lot.
Yeah. So quick question. Speaking of deGrom, Mike was asking this here. Mike asked, are the Mets going to do anything substantial or is it going to be typical? And Mets fans, I mean, I understand they've been through a lot. New ownership, though, I think if the trade is there, they'll do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I agree too, and it's just a weird division where they should win it, but it's just with Acuna out and the Nationals kind of falling apart, they should win it. But what do you think what would you go after if you were the Mets?
That is the best question. I think another arm.
I think we're writing off Syndergaard coming back, right? Like that is that totally done?
Yeah. I don't know if it's totally done, but I'm not counting on any of the big three.
So you've got Stroman, McGill, Taijuan Walker, Rich Hill is your 1 through 4. So I think that if you're going to go deep in the playoffs, I think you need another starter.
Yeah, and this is obviously before DeGrom comes back, but we'll see about that. So
Miguel's been really, really good, and it's been a great story. But I still think you want DeGrom, someone, Stroman as your front three probably in the playoffs.
Yeah. So Barrios, is that an option? Is he even going to go?
Yeah, I mean that's clearly an option. I mean, I think that I don't know what he has one more year on his contract. Is that right?
And he just turned down a big contract extension. So did Buxton, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that too, and that's I'm just looking up Barrios' contract at the moment. But so I mean, his price goes up. He's arbitration eligible next year, and then a free agent the year after. So I mean, it's a tough price because you're not renting a guy for 2 months. You're paying for a year and
I think that's a positive though.
I do too, but the price goes up though. I think the teams like teams like renting because you can kind of give out middling prospect and you can kind of do what you want. But you got an extra year of a guy, and he's an arbitration eligible, so he'll probably make $8 million next year. He made 5.6 this year, 5.6 this year, maybe 8 next year, 9. I mean, that's a really workable price for Barrios. So I think that I just think that it's got to be a high asking price. If I'm the Twins, I don't give him away cheaply. If I want to trade him and I'll get the right price, I just do it in the offseason.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I think they got to do something. They got a really good chance to win the division, and I think they need one more pitcher. And you look at their lineup, and it's kind of deep wise for fantasy. We always talk about Dom Smith and JD Davis and McNeil and who's going to play where. But I feel like they need one big bat in the middle of that lineup. I mean, it should be Conforto. He's hitting 205, I think, and he's finally come along a little bit the last week or so. But I think one big bat in the middle of the lineup would make a huge difference.
I think Conforto just got a little Reds therapy. That's all.
Yeah, it does help. Does help the cause, doesn't it? But
yeah.
I mean, I just think with Lindor out, probably another month here or so. I think one more bat, and it's hard. You can say a bat and a pitcher for probably any team, right? But they seem to me like they are a pitcher and a bat away from really, really competing and being tough to beat.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. And yet the division's so pliable that you can go ahead and you can just say, okay, we're happy to make the playoffs. We're going to win our division. I'm sure there's some instinct as far as that goes. I don't think it's a good one.
Once you get in the playoffs, anybody can win, and we'll see what happens, kind of thing. You can see it, but I have a hard time seeing them beat the Dodgers or the Padres as currently set up right now.
Yeah. I also think that there's going to be this is the House Organ excuse that a lot of teams use. Oh, our trade deadline acquisition is going to be Carlos Carrasco coming off the IL. Yeah.
Did pitch 3 scoreless innings today, so that's a good sign. But I don't think you can trust. I don't think you can trust him to make it. Throwing 7 innings anytime soon.
Of course, but his next outing could be at the big league level. They're saying so. It's a possibility. I don't even think, but I wouldn't count on that. I agree with you. I think that they need more, but I also think they have the wherewithal to get more too, especially in terms of finances. Yeah, they could probably give up a lesser prospect in exchange for taking on a contract. Yeah. So that is a pathway.
For sure. There's going to be a lot of teams that would love to unload some contracts. And if someone's going to take one on, there's no salary cap, which is huge. I mean, we see it in the NBA, like teams would love to take on contracts, just can't do it. But in baseball, you can pretty much take it on if you want to.
Yeah, indeed. Mike, thanks for the question. Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. Trevor Rogers went on the IL with a lower back spasm. The Marlins rotation has just been shredded the last few weeks. It's all season really because Sixto was out and Elysier was out. But breakout year for Rogers. Hopefully, back spasm is one of those things that he might be fine tomorrow. He might not be fine for 2 weeks, but hopefully he's back soon. We talked a little bit about Max Scherzer when we were talking about the trade deadline. He was scratched on Saturday with right tricep discomfort. He says he's fine, but he's Max Scherzer. I think he always says he's fine. Bullpen session can be on Monday or Tuesday to see if he can start this week. So I have 2 questions for you, Jeff. A, in Fantasy League, do you use him this week with the thought that he's got to be okay in that bullpen session that he's going to throw on the weekend? And B, if you're a big name team that's going to give up a bunch of prospects, would you do it for a guy who's coming off right triceps discomfort? And miss a start like 3 weeks ago, right?
Yeah. I mean, we all remember, what happened last year, right? with the do you start him? Do you not start him? That it caused us to get some zeros last year.
Yep.
In weeks. So, and the thing is, yes, you want a guy to put on the brave face, the Michael Scott brave face, but at the same time, you got to actually, he's 35, 36 even. And these things keep cropping up more and more. Actually, he turns 37 on Tuesday. So
and not only do they crop up more and more, but I think the key is they don't heal as quickly either.
Exactly.
So exactly. And I mean, he's been awesome. I think he has his highest strikeout rate of his career. I think I'm looking at that right. Yeah, I know he did. He's tied with 2019 right now, but I mean, he's been really, really good in fantasy leagues. The second round pick, if you took him over some of the other guys in that range, you're doing really well. Him and Walker Buehler both been good, and Castillo's been good lately. But it's so hard in a fantasy league though, because if you sit him, like he's probably your best pitcher, unless you drafted him as your second ace. And you just whoever you're putting in is your 10th best pitcher is just going to be so risky. Or you're throwing a middle reliever who you're hoping for 2 innings and some strikeouts and maybe lucking into a win. I think I'm throwing him.
Yeah, I am too. I mean,
but the other risk is he gets traded before he makes that start too.
That's also a risk. Also,
and then he's not throwing this week, and we're screwed.
Yeah.
But so anyway, it's a tough call. I think I'm going to start him, but I probably wait until I have to make the decision. A couple other more minor IL guys, but guys that matter. Colin Mchugh has been really good out of the bullpen this year, and he went the IL with quote arm fatigue, which may mean that he just needs a break for 10 days, or means his arm's about to fall off. I don't really know. I don't know which one it's going to be. And
the Rays aren't going to tell us.
So. No, they're not going to tell us. And I ended up dropping him in the league just because he's been great, but he's a middle reliever. It's hard to hold that if he's not pitching, and I wanted to use him this week if I'm going to have him. I can always pick him back up. But and Josh Rojas went on the 10-day IL with a dislocated finger. He's been a guy that's been valuable in fantasy, finally getting kind of full-time at bats, been leading off a bunch, but he's eligible at outfield, second, and shortstop, which has been really nice eligibility. He's got 50 runs scored. He has 7 stolen bases, 10 home runs, hit 268. It's a guy that's in any kind of deep fantasy leagues, he's helped your squad.
He has and helped Shu and I in particular in the main end. At least it happened, I think, on a Thursday. So you got most of the week out of him. And you could swap him out on Friday. And so, yeah, it looked like for a second there that they might even try to bring him back quicker, but they did decide to IL him. I think that's the right play. But also, Steven Smith getting extra playing time too.
Yep. Did you guys hold on to Rojas?
Yeah, we did.
I think I agree with that in a 15. I think in a 12, I was willing to kind of maybe cut bait there and maybe try and get him back later. But we talked about Eloy Jimenez. He sounds like he's going to be activated on Monday. So if you have either sat on him or picked him up, it's time to get him in your lineup, which is a really good feeling. It'd be fun to get him back. I think we thought he was going to miss maybe another month when we first did it. So if you told me to come back late July, I would have told you that was like best case scenario. So it's good to see that. His teammate Luis Robert is 3 games into his rehab assignment in High A. He was actually available in one of my 12-teamers league, and he went for $127. I was not close. I had bids in on him, but I was not close on that one.
No, I mean, the thing is, you don't know when he's coming back still. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, it's hard to find difference makers. Tell you what's not fun is when you draft one of those guys and then get beat on the bid back later on.
For sure. Yeah, no, I drafted Eloy in the yogurt league, and he's been long since picked up. But yeah, if he rakes for 2 months, that'll be tough to watch.
Yeah, that last little twist.
Because I mean, there was talk like maybe he'll be back for the playoffs when he first got hurt. It was like a 5-month thing, and maybe September some at bats, and he's back July 26th. That's pretty good.
That is. We'll see what happens when he comes back too. But I think he should be okay.
I do too. I mean, I think it's. I imagine they've rehabbed him, and shoulder. Maybe he loses a little bit of pop, but
this is not a medical diagnosis though.
He had plenty to give, so I think he'll be fine. Yeah. A couple of guys you mentioned, Carlos Carrasco, but Chris Sale is going to make his 4th rehab start next week in AAA. So I think he's pretty close. It's going to be interesting to see how the Red Sox, who are having a really good year, how they deploy him. Do you think they're going to kind of go 3-4 innings starting for a while? Do you think they'll pull him on the bullpen? What do you think they're going to do with him?
I think 3-4 would be my guess. Maybe bring an opener in front of him.
Yeah, you could do that. He just feels like they probably want to keep him on some routine where maybe he, can go through everything and can start the game. You don't have to worry about timing it and all that kind of stuff. But talking about guys that could be a difference maker, though, if he's throwing 5 innings by mid-August, that's a guy that can make differences in leagues too.
Yep, for sure.
Alex Bregman starting a rehab assignment on Monday. Jeff, I just started the Astros cheating book, so I've heard it's really good. So I'm hoping it works well.
I haven't heard anything about it. Who wrote it?
That's a really good question. I should know that. It's called Cheated. I can tell you who wrote it though. But it's supposed to be. It actually starts out kind of giving the history of sign stealing and all that. So it started in the 1900s, where there was a guy that had he had a little box underneath the coaching box, and they had it wired. They had it wired to center field, so it like buzzed every time based on the pitch. And he was in the third base box, and he could give Sims based on how it buzzed. So it was actually an interesting start to the book. A couple people recommended it to me. It was by Andy Martino. I want to give good credit there. So it's
okay. I'll check it out.
Inside Story of the Astros Scandal: A Colorful History of Sign Stealing. I'll tell you next week. I'll be done with it. I'll tell you how it was.
Okay.
We talked about Cody Bellinger on the Dodgers. Also, Corey Seager. Sounds like he's going to Arizona for some simulated games. This has taken a long time. It's been kind of a start and stop with Seager, then likely some rehab games. So I think we're looking at probably still like a week and a half till Seager's back in the lineup. We talked about Aaron Judge. He joined the Yankees on Sunday, like with the team, didn't play, but he sounded like he might be activated Tuesday against the Rays. So hopefully that's one of those ones that you hope you have another guy that doesn't play on Monday, and they can you can figure out kind of how to decide on Judge there.
Yeah. Yeah, and God, if I have to wait till Tuesday to decide on that or Wednesday, it's like I still might, just because of the possible upside.
I think I'm pretty sure I'm using him unless we hear something.
Because they're off on Monday.
They're off on Monday, yeah. So you have to have somebody else that is off on Monday also. So hopefully that you can, if there's a setback or they say he's not gonna be ready till Thursday or something, you can put that other guy in. But I think I'm risking it either way, to be honest with you. If I don't have the guy, I think I'm just risking it.
I think you're right. That's probably what I'm going to do too.
Mike Trout, we talked about him last week. He tweeted that he was flying to Oakland. We were like, is he playing? And then you were actually correct. You said he's just going up there to work out with the team. So you kind of nailed that one. Hasn't run in 3 days, and he's seeing a doctor tomorrow. He said he felt something in his calf, and I'm assuming it just wasn't his calf muscle. So he had something in there. That's not really ideal for someone who's coming back from a leg injury. You don't want to hear that he hasn't run for 3 days.
Yeah, well, that's just the thing. Is like, normally, if he hadn't run in 3 days, we wouldn't hear about it. The fact that they affirmatively said he hasn't run in 3 days.
And he's going to see a doctor about it.
Yeah, problematic.
Yeah, that's
without a doubt.
Not great. I mean, I'm obviously the Angels are in the A's division, and I don't like them, but I want Trout on the field. It's just good for baseball. Luis Arraez went on the 10-day IL with a right knee strain. I only mentioned this because I actually think Nick Gordon is kind of an interesting pickup if you need stolen bases. He's shortstop and outfield eligible. I think he's going to play a lot of second base with Arraez hurt, and the Twins are selling everybody off anyway. And I think Gordon's going to kind of fall into regular at bats the rest of the way here. He's kind of a sneaky guy if you need some steals. Probably not going to do much else for you, but I think if you need some steals, he might be a guy that steals a handful of them down the stretch.
I'd agree. And Twins, I mean, Brent Rooker might be an option for you in AL leagues. He had a big homer today. I think that they're just, again, so many times these bad teams, they trade away guys, opportunities come up, they call up prospects, and you never know. Playing time is a hell of a currency for them to give, and sometimes they just get it.
Yeah, it's funny. We always talk about, what closers are going to take over when they trade guys, but offensive guys fill in spots too. And you're going to get guys that a lot of these bad teams that are, going to sell. You're right. They're going to have guys that take over full-time at bats. And that's in any kind of deep league or an AL only or an AL only league, like full-time at bats is huge.
It is. It really is. So something to watch for there too.
Yeah. Let's talk about a few players before we jump out of here. I want to talk about Patrick Sandoval. It's a tough one for me because I've loved Sandoval. I've added him a bunch of teams a while ago, have held on to him. Did not have him in the lineup last night, which was especially painful for a near no-hitter and 13 strikeouts, but pitched really well. He's at 3.52 ERA in 71 innings. Jeff, his swinging strike rate 16.3%. That number jumped way off the page to me. I was really surprised when I saw it. His changeup is a 54% whiff rate pitch right now, a 198 slug against it. That pitch is nasty.
It is, and they altered that pitch. They altered his pitch mix. Very positive results. They actually did some development, Scott. Yeah. This is something the Angels aren't known for doing.
An Angels prospect actually turning out well is not something I'm used to.
Yeah, it's especially on the pitching side of things. That's the real eye opener there.
Yeah, so it's but I mean it's looked good. I mean, you look at his StatCast page, there's a ton of red, there's a ton of really good stuff. Hard hit rate's 34%, a good number in this season. Barrel rate's a 6%, good number there too. I mean, he's limiting hard contact and striking guys out. That's a profile that you got to like.
It is, and we're too bad they didn't have this earlier. Well, in our case, as A's fans, collectively together, right. It's good news for us, but.
They just, I mean, they need pitching so badly. He's been huge for them, and it's with Bundy out of the rotation, Griffin Canning is in the minors, Andrew Heaney has been. It's they need pitchers. It's kind of him and Ohtani right now, with a little bit of Alex Cobb every once in a while flashing.
Yeah, that's right.
Chris Taylor sticking in LA. I mean, this is a guy that's having a huge year. He hit 2 home runs again on Sunday. He's at 284, 16 home runs, 9 stolen bases. It's wild. He's at 73 runs scored, like a category we don't talk about a lot, but. It's weird. He's kind of back to the 2017. I forgot in 2017, he went 21 home runs, 17 stolen bases, and hit 288. Like, he had a huge year. I remember he had that breakout. He came from Seattle to the Dodgers and had that huge year, and he kind of was platooning and not playing a ton the last couple of years, and he's fully back. He's been huge for teams.
Yeah, and the thing is, they had that magic stretch. They found Muncy, they found Taylor, they found these guys. They haven't really gotten those guys this year.
Really haven't. All these guys that they call up, you're kind of expecting it. It's the, Edwin Rios or Matt Beattie. I mean, none of those guys, they just kind of, and Gavin Lux has been, we can talk about it. Gavin Lux has been terrible. One of my bigger misses here. I thought that Gavin Lux was going to be good. And
me too.
I didn't know if it was going to be a full breakout, but I like the chances of a breakout. And if he didn't break out, I thought he was going to be just good too. And in that lineup, and he's been anything but.
No, he's been awful. McKinstry had that buzz for about 12 seconds.
And that's gone.
Yeah, unfortunately it is. And they just haven't found that next guy. I mean, they thought they were going to go back to A's magic with "Come On, Feel the Noise," but that was just all full of sound and fury signifying nothing instead.
Anytime you can get quiet right jokes in one place, you got to go for it, right?
Yeah, right, of course.
Yeah, McKinstry's at 228 now, 278 OBP. You're right. That's fully fallen off.
Yeah.
So speaking of me being wrong about guys, I like to be open about it and say when I'm wrong about guys. I've been really wrong on Sal Perez this year. I thought the batting average was a risk. I thought maybe he was going a little bit too high, and I've been dead wrong. This dude has just been awesome. 279, 23 home runs, 62 RBIs. He's held those hard hit gains he had in 2020. They weren't sure were fully real, have been fully real and more. 56% hard hit rate, 14% barrel rate. That hard hit rate's 4th in all of baseball. He's behind like Ohtani. He's tied with Vlad Jr. Like, he's up there among the elites. Barrel rate's top 20 in the league. I think he's 16th. The K rate's up a little bit. It's 26%, but I think it's clear that he's selling out for some pop. Never walks. I was worried about that with the batting average, and it just hasn't mattered. He's been. He's smoked JT Realmuto. That's for sure. The catcher race.
He smoked the competition.
Yeah,
the RotoWire earned auction value tool gives him a $10 lead over the next best producing catcher.
Who's I would say who's second?
Will Smith.
All right.
Slightly over Posey. Because as good as Posey's been, 323, 13 homers, 39 RBI, 39 runs, just 30 RBI. That's pretty hard to do when you're hitting 320 with 13 homers. Yeah. But he's played 64 games. That's some of it. Some of it's just where he is in the lineup. Realmuto has been a real bit of a bummer.
Is Will Smith I guess Will Smith just has the 15 more RBIs because Posey's hitting 60 points higher.
Yeah, and it might be the algorithm too. It might be waiting.
It's the runs and RBI. I mean, that's a pretty big. I mean, he's got 50% more RBIs than Posey. That's
and 2 stolen bases, infinity more stolen bases than Posey, and 2 more than I think Posey will have for the rest of his career. But
for all the worry about Will Smith and Austin Barnes, Will Smith he's paid off that draft price too.
Yeah, early on, I think it was really frustrating to see that time, the playing time issue like it is. It's been fine lately.
I think he's really good, by the way.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And
so we're talking about that earlier with Keibert Ruiz. If I were the Dodgers, I'd use that as a chip because I think Will Smith's their guy for a while.
It'd be insane for them not to use him as their guy for a while. He's legit
too.
Awesome.
You got to trade that blue chip catcher while you have him, right? And you got to just. I think his value is going to be as high as it's going to be right now. People know the Dodgers. They have an extra catcher, which is someone to get hurt, and it's a good thing to have. But I think I'd trade from a strength right there if I'm LA.
Matt Wieters and Francisco Mejia agree with you on that.
Oof, that's rough.
And the thing,
Francisco Mejia just didn't happen.
No,
it's
I just picked him up in a week,
happen, but yeah. And Matt Wieters just never really happened either.
No, not to the way we expected. I mean, sometimes you had a late career renaissance like Yachty, but for the most part, it's just hard. There's so many things, obstacles in your way about being as a catcher trying to achieve that. It's really difficult.
Yeah, and and you're just taking foul tips all the time. There's just so many different reasons that it's tough. So, two more guys I want to ask you about before we get out of here. Gleyber Torres has been talked about a lot. The lack of home runs has been a big thing. He's up to 6 now. I think he had 3 at the All-Star break. He has 3 since. But Gleyber stole his 10th base today, kind of out of nowhere. I've been surprised by that. But he's hitting 246. He has 353 plate appearances. He only has 30 runs, which seems impossible to do in the Yankees lineup. We thought about it. You told me 30 runs. Gleyber Torres had 30 runs, and it wasn't hurt on July 25th in the Yankees lineup. I could not have figured out how that was possible. It's weird though. You look at him and like we talk about that. He just beats up the Orioles and they boost his numbers. Yep. He's never had a hard hit rate over 40%. He's down to 35% this year. Barrel rate's under 7%. It's hard to hit a ton of home runs when your fly balls go down. Your hard hit rate is just kind of man league average.
Yeah, something Victor Robles. I don't know, but
I don't want to take any Victor Robles victory laps.
No, I know, I hear you. But in the last 21 days, he's had half of his 6 homers. He's got an 823 OPS. Last week it was 1,025. Heading into today, I didn't get today's stats in that, but
he was 2 for 4. Do you think he's coming around?
A little bit, I do. I feel like he is, at least. Maybe I've seen him more up there. I've seen that.
He just kind of feels like he has to at some point, right? Like, I know that the Orioles thing a lot, but he had 38 home runs in 2019. I know he was probably a prime happy fun ball guy. But I don't know. It's weird. You look at his hard hit rate. He doesn't hit the ball as hard as all these other slugger guys that we take in that range in ADP.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I don't know. Dynasty wise, I think it might be a buying window a little bit, but I think it's a buying window to a level that we didn't expect. Like, he's never going to be Xander. He's never going to be Seager at the peak of his powers. He's going to be that next tier down. Yeah,
I think that's true. I think if you can get him in Dynasty where the guy, whoever you're trading with really wants to get rid of him, but I'm not like paying full price hoping 2019 is coming back because I don't think it ever is.
No, I think you're probably right about that.
Last guy I want to ask you about, Ryan Presley in Houston has very quietly been awesome. The Astros win a lot of games 107-3, so he doesn't get a lot of saves, but he has 18 saves. He's got 18 save on Sunday, 1.5 ERA in 42 innings, 34% K rate, huge K number, 4.5 walk rate. You love a guy that has a bunch of Ks and also doesn't walk. He's 54-7 K to walk right now, which is just an absurd number. Really impressive there. Slider whiff rate's 44%. Curveball whip rate's 35%. It's a guy that never, quote unquote, done the job before this year. And he talked about like, throw me where you want, it's fine. And they've pretty much used him like a traditional closer a couple times here and there, but he's pretty much been a closer guy. If you're drafting right now, is he the 3rd closer off the board for next year if everything kind of stays the same behind Hendricks and Hader?
Probably maybe even equal with Hendricks. I don't know. Hendricks is really darn good at the 2-inning save today, but actually probably Hendricks is above him. 0.73 whip. I just saw that. Wow. Okay. Never mind. And
a 42% strikeout rate.
Yeah, these are good things. Yeah,
and a 3% walk rate. We talk about Presley. Hendricks is 67-5 K to walk.
Yeah. I want to know. I think the more interesting question is where's Kimbrel on that list for you?
Oh man, that's tough.
I guess he's got a 0.67 whip.
He's been awesome. He's been just absolutely awesome. I don't have him anywhere, so he's been great. Maybe it depends where he ends up, but I think anywhere he ends up, he's obviously in the close, and he's only going to go for a good team if he gets traded because the only good teams can make trades. Right. But I'm still a little bit wary of the walk stuff in the past, but he's blown out of water this year. The strikeout rate's 46.5%. That's off the charts. And he's cut the walk rate. Squawk rate's still 9%. He's cut it in half though. That's a pretty big chunk. But I wouldn't have him in the Hendricks Hader range quite yet.
Yeah. And going back to your question on Presley, because that's what he was the gateway to this. He's had a sub 120 whip for 5 years. He's been at, no, that's not true. Last year was 133. I saw that wrong. And I actually, now that I think about it, he was struggling in the playoffs pretty badly.
He did. And we talked about that in preseason. Like, is that going to carry over? And it clearly hasn't.
Yeah. But then again, you look at 2019, he was amazing. 2018, he was amazing.
Yep.
I think 3 out of 4 really amazing years. Yeah. I think he passes the test for me, and he's older, which actually kind of skews in his favor as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and if we had thought about, can he throw the ninth inning? I think he's cleared that up pretty well this year. What do you think Houston does at the deadline? Do you think they add a bullpen piece? I mean, Christian Javier is kind of their bridge guy to get to Presley multi innings, but it feels like maybe you need a setup guy in there. But I don't know. Yeah. They're so stacked. But I think that'd be maybe the one thing they need.
Andrew Chafin to the Astros. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that's if there's a weakness on this team, it's getting games to Presley.
Yeah. And it's I'm looking at their bullpen right now, and you're right. It's probably a lefty too. I mean, Blake Taylor's in there, but Ryan Stanek. But yeah, probably a really good. Andrew Chafin's a pretty good name right there.
Yep.
I'm guessing they won't trade for Mike Fiers, huh?
Probably not.
I'm really trying to get something for Mike Fiers.
I would love to just have a camera or a trash can in the room when that happens. But oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
Do you think we see any shocking big name get traded this week?
Yeah, I don't know who it is, but there will be one seller that we didn't see coming.
Yeah, I think the seller you're not seeing coming is probably the big thing. Do you think the A's do anything big? I don't think they do.
No, I think our respective teams, our collective teams, do nothing and like it. They do something really small, like they each get like a reliever or something like that, but it's not like one of the front of the line guys. It's someone that was easily had.
Seattle sure seems spicy. There's like Jose Ramirez rumors. There's Whit Merrifield rumors. It seems like they may want to just go all in, which I think would be kind of fun. Yeah,
I've heard some Whit Merrifield rumors. I think the Giants should trade for him. I think there's a lot of teams.
Man, he's a good fit there.
Yeah, I mean. Whit Merrifield's
he's a good fit anywhere, but like to lead off and play second base for them would be just a perfect fit.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that. All right. Anything else you want to talk about? Anything else that's on your mind this Sunday night?
No, I think we did our job here. I think we did well.
I think we kind of hit it all too. So thanks everyone for listening more than anything. Thanks everyone for watching. If you happen to be watching us live also or watching us later on YouTube, etc. We appreciate that. We thank WynnBET for their sponsorship. Again, that's WYNN Bet. If you want to follow Jeff on Twitter, he is at Jeff_Erickson. I am at Scott Jenstad. Jenstad's Jenstad. We're always talking about baseball or some random Olympic stuff or basketball or something on there. And that's luckily the basketball is on at 5 a.m, so I can't complain about it, which is probably everybody's happy about. Come on, really? Kevin Durant missing open threes, take leads with 30 seconds left? I can't believe that happened. But
I didn't even watch a second of it, to be honest with you.
They were up 7 with 3 minutes left.
Oh, ouch.
France went on a 9-0 run, and they were down 2, and Zach LaVine missed a kind of contested 3. They got an offensive rebound out to Durant for a wide open 3 short. Then Lillard got the rebound, kicked it to Drew Holiday, wide open corner 3, and in and out and missed. And the game was over then. But I think they play Iran next, and then someone else they're going to beat, so they'll make it to the medal round. But it's I don't know, it's rough. They're not playing very well together.
I think the no fan thing affects a lot of favorites all across the board.
I think that's a really good point. I think that's true. It's weird. Like you watch like beach volleyball and you see these facilities like they just built for this and there's no fans there. It sucks.
It's eerie. It's
beach
really
volleyball is one of those
eerie.
things that, like they always had like music playing and fans going. It was like a really fun thing to watch. And I find it kind of dull. It's one of those things that like really gets dulled down without the fans in there.
And I'm dreading what track and field is going to feel like without any fans.
That's true too. But it's are you a big Olympic person?
I love the Olympics. I hate the coverage of the Olympics, but I love the Olympics themselves. Aaron and I and Kim and I, we've all of us actually have been getting into it. Aaron's really gotten into it. She's recorded everything, fast forwarding through commercials and
nice.
That.
I've been there. I've done that.
Yeah.
Was she heartbroken about the soccer loss?
No, because she got spoiled about it. But the thing is, at least they're not eliminated. They're probably still going to go on to the play-in round, so they can redeem themselves. But they played horribly, by the way.
That was I woke up and I was like, oh my god! They not only lost, but they lost 3-0. They hadn't lost in 2 years or whatever it was.
And it wasn't like a fluke. It wasn't a ref-induced loss where they got 2 horrible PKs called against them or something like that. No, right. Sweden outplayed us. Period. Yeah. And so that made it easier to palate, Yeah.
That hasn't happened in a long time though. They do not get beat very often.
Negative.
The men's team is not even in it, right?
Correct. And that's a source of angst if you're a US soccer fan at all.
No doubt. That's rough. So anyway, thanks everyone for listening. If you could please rate review the podcast, that'd be great. Also, anyway, I hope everybody has a great week. Hope you make some runs in your leagues. We're hoping to do that ourselves, and we'll be back at you next Sunday.